Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic and phenomenal day. Let's take a look here at SUI, double check a few key factors. Now, this is not an I told you so by any stretch, or I'm super happy that this is happening, but it is nice to know that like the TA is actually working out the way that it should, just based on the simple fact that this coin has been due for a correction for a while. So again, all the signs are there. If you take a quick look at our my post from Saturday, for example, on Twitter, Telegram, and Discord, you can see this bearish rectangle is due to play out here, essentially likely to reject off its point of control. If it breaks that level and continues higher, that's where you take a long. You consider a long only if the price breaks through its key level resistance. At this point here, it's breaking down. It went past its support range, so we're going to have to reevaluate and kind of double check a few other things here. But the simple way to understand it is that the price is pulling back, and congrats to those who essentially closed their longs and are in profit right now if you consider it a short. I don't personally like to short this coin. I think it's high risk, but again, to each their own. Quick congrats to our community members too for some nice profits here. We shorted Bitcoin on Saturday, 26% from 98K so far to 94.8. So we hit both targets there. Might even hit our third target, but I think Bitcoin is going to start to stabilize here soon. And that's good news for SUI because again, SUI, altcoins, any kind of coin right now is going to need to have Bitcoin not pull back in order to do fairly well. There's a couple of outliers, but for the most part, it's based on its success. So if you're not familiar, take a quick look here at Bitcoin and its analysis. We can see that we are looking pretty decent with a descending broadening wedge pattern, potential bottoming out here between 93 and 95K. All right, so again, there's not a ridiculous amount of liquidation left. At 94,000, we lose 94, it's a different story. We might see low 90s, but generally speaking, we're looking pretty good here for Bitcoin. And again, if you're rolling your eyes like saying, man, why does this guy always talk about Bitcoin? He's got a hard one for Bitcoin. Well, the truth is Bitcoin really calls all the shots, and if you're not paying attention to that one, you're doing yourself a significant disservice. All right, anyways, thanks again so much for joining me here. Let's go ahead and jump on over to our back-end liquidation data for SUI. Go from there. Please hit the like button, comment below if you get a chance. Get this in front of more people so they stop getting destroyed by moon boys, right? Again, SUI is still a good coin, still a strong coin. There's no discredit to this coin because I say it's going to pull back. But I literally had to say that in every video because I'll get the senseless trolls that come through and say this coin is the best thing ever. Well, it's still good, and I'm sure it's gotten you a lot of profit. It's still due for capitulation. It's actually, this is a good thing, by the way, folks. We want it to pull back so you can average into your price point a little bit better, and on top of that, it's going to be able to provide more sustainability in the long run. If it doesn't bottom out soon, it'll pull back harder, right? You got to recognize that. Anyways, SUI, last back-end data here, last 7 days worth of liquidation. There's a ridiculous amount of longs here that could get hit. So again, just throwing it out there, 270 to 290 is that heavy concentration. We're not there yet. We got to lose $3 first to see that. If Bitcoin makes a run towards 93K though, I'm pretty sure that's going to be a thing. So just be aware that's going to happen potentially. So adjust your stop loss accordingly. If we look at the bigger picture here too, we can start to see kind of the proof here. If you will, 302 to 310 is also an area that's susceptible for liquidation. Each one of these bars is about $500 million. So we got about 3 or 4 billion between here and $3 is a rough estimate. That's a lot. All right, now take a look here at the liquidation delta. More people are shorting than longing this coin right now. I'd like to see that actually because people are finally actually shorting in the direction they're supposed to instead of buying the dip. So again, there's nothing wrong with buying the dip on a spot bag, but if you're buying the dip with a high leverage long, that is just a buffoon call right there, okay? And you're probably making that call because you're seeing some other idiots online posting their amazing results on this coin with high leverage. And I got news for you folks, that's not what trading's all about. I'm sorry. After trading for over 20 years, obviously not in crypto the entire time, I realize that there's like a fundamental flaw in crypto, and it's mostly just the moon boys that keep promoting everything's going to keep going up because they're getting paid on the back end. Okay, so I don't get paid at all to tell you this here. This is just straightforward, just my analysis. Granted, if you want to join our Trading Academy community or signals group, you can pay a monthly subscription for that. And most people pay good money and are well rewarded. But what I'm getting at here is that when we look at the back end data, it's important to recognize that there's a lot of things here telling us that this coin is just another coin. All right, it's not the world's God's gift to crypto. Okay, and again, I only say that nicely because you got to realize that if you remove emotion from trading, you're gonna be a lot better off. All right, and maybe that's why I'm so harsh on saying that certain coins the fundamentals matter very little. at least in the overall sense. I'm not saying the TA is also 100%, but I'm just telling you that in general, don't be an emotional idiot. All right, so 367, look at this here. This is the heaviest concentration of positions for people on this coin. Imagine if you were long at 367 right now. How would that feel? It'd feel pretty bad, right? And again, the main reason why that happens is because we have some breakout traders here. As soon as the price broke out to 367, people went long. And look at that. That's that bearish rectangle that I discussed here previously. That's right there at that level. That's that resistance range for us, okay? You wait until the resistance or support is broken until you take a trade. That's all there is to it, folks. It requires a little bit of patience. It's not that hard. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the charts now and work our way down. Let's go with the weekly first and recognize a few things here. Unlike other coins, we're not massively overextended with 9 days in a row of continuation. So like you look at Solana, for example, we got a 9 on TD sequential. Bitcoin is on a 9 TD sequential. While it's important to recognize that Bitcoin is due to correct itself further because of that, SUI can still recover quickly because it hasn't been like stretched too far. All right, so that's a good sign. Anyways, that's a consolation. I think I figured I'd highlight that just so you understand that's this coin's still in pretty good shape. The macro is still going to exude extremely bullish behavior. Everything here is letting us know we're good, minus the second stochastic swing to the downside. And if you're not familiar with this here, folks, the larger the time frame, the more impactful these can be. Now, again, you're not going to see this in the intraday, but for the most part, when you have a second stochastic swing to the downside, which we have our first here and our second here, the second carries more weight because it's overextended leading into it, at least within reason. What I mean by that here is this is when our first stochastic swing occurred, right? We pulled back by how much of a margin? In a 2-week period, SUI pulled back by 30%, okay? Now we went up here, overextended again, and we are stochastically diverging as well, okay? And what does that look like from top to bottom? So far, about 20% correction. So I'm not saying it's going to be exactly 1-to-1 ratio, but hypothetically, we got another 10% lower to go before we see that actual bottom out for us, okay? So again, just throwing it out there, stochastic swings are very premature, very early, but they're just early indications letting you know that there's shifts in momentum happening. And it seems pretty obvious this momentum shift has occurred. We're now underneath a support range, and we're going to have to presume 325 to 343 is that new resistance. That's just kind of how it works when you trade, all right? Again, you presume until you shouldn't. In other words, trend is still down, right? We still have a descending trend. You can see that pretty clear, lower highs and lower lows. Until that stops, you have to presume it's going to continue, right? Every single time people are like, I'm going to buy the top, I'm going to buy the top. They keep getting destroyed and wrecked because of it. And again, it's that tomfoolery comes because people are so dead set on us having alt season or this coin is like the best thing to ever happen and it's not going to pull back ever. I'm just going to keep adding to my position. That's okay if you do on a spot bag, but don't keep adding to your leverage, your margin, and expect it to go well. You're probably going to be liquidated by now. And again, liquidations are just another statistic. So taking a look at the daily time frame, MACD is diverging. That's a pretty obvious telling sign. We had that recently and talked about that in our last video. We can see MACD, the stochastic is starting to bottom out, so we may be reaching our tentative bottom. But we can see here, of course, we got RSI getting closer to 50. That's still generally considered as bullish. I know it seems kind of weird, but it's more positive than negative. But money flow index being below that, that's generally construed as a bearish sign. Now, I know it seems weird right now. You're probably thinking to yourself, why is this guy talking about a bunch of convergences and divergences concurrently? How can something go up and down at the same time? It can't, but the indicators can. And when they do that, you generally avoid trading because it's high risk and it doesn't make a ton of sense to trade. Okay? Now, again, if you're going to consider a short, that you're going to statistically be more likely to find success than taking a long. But again, shorting this coin comes with great risk because this coin has a tendency of pushing up very fast. So that's a good contribution to this coin, but it also implies right now the market makers have their hands on it, and that is not a good place to be. Okay. Anyways, that's all there. So for the most part, the daily time frame is slightly more bearish. If you were to summarize, looking at the 4-hour time frame, we can see we're getting closer to 30 on the RSI. This is generally positive. You typically will see a bounce when this happens. So I wouldn't be surprised we see a bit of a relief rally here soon, but Bitcoin has to stabilize first. Stochastic swinging down, MACD diverging. We're below all the important moving averages. There's no reason to take a long position right now, folks. Okay. I don't care if you take a long right now and it goes up to $4 and you are just the most amazing person in the world. It'll probably feel pretty amazing, but is it really all that great if you just traded on luck and you just kind of closed your eyes and press buy now? I don't know, it makes no sense. Anyways, hourly time frame, Ichimoku Cloud confirming here all green lights to leave your short position open if you have one. Do not take a long position. Again, this is just what the charts is telling us, folks. If you're going to get mad at me for just telling you how it is, then you probably got to go seek counseling. Because at this point, there's nothing here telling us we're in good shape. Our previous support level is a new resistance, so 343. We have to respect that until we close back up above it. We're not in a good position to want to take a long, okay? That would be a semi-confirming factor, by the way, is a closure above 343. And as you can see here previously, the price tried to close above it, but it really didn't on the 4-hour or the daily. That's somewhat of a resistance level, and until we close above that on a larger time frame, there's no reason to consider a long position. So between now and then, you could get lucky, but that's just kind of how that is. I'll update our fib levels here soon to reflect the current situation, but these are still very relevant here. I mean, we got our local low here at about 282. Keep in mind, there's a lot of liquidation down between 270 and 290, so I wouldn't be surprised if we do end up seeing that 282 mark. And just know at this point, no trade is a good trade, okay? Unless you want to consider shorting, you will find more success, at least as far as the overall circumstance here. You're more likely to find benefit going down. But keep in mind, we're kind of double bottoming here. It's not really ideal conditions to take a short or a long, really. Either way, those are my 2 cents, or maybe it's like a whole heck of a lot of sense. It's as much common sense as I can try to impart onto you. If you don't want to take it, that's okay. And again, no guarantees. I'm only 80% successful with our trades. Again, congrats to our community here for some pretty solid profits here. Cartesi, we took some super awesome profits yesterday for that one. But again, Bitcoin short 26% in only 24 to 48 hours. It's not like the strongest trade ever, but I'm not taking short positions with high leverage. That's a low leverage short, and it's also tight margins too. You got to secure profits in the market when you can. You do not leave things open for too long, okay? All right, last but not least, join us over at Bitunix, folks. 60K prize pool spread amongst the top 20 traders. Phenomenal exchange. Highly recommend them. Link down below for that. Otherwise, be on the lookout for our playout chart coming on Twitter, Telegram, and Discord here shortly. It's all available for you there. I hope you find benefit. Thanks so much for your time. We'll see you next one. Take care.